Chris Hummel here. Welcome to my second episode. And I think the best title to call this one is, here, I wrote it down here for a second, Life as a Professional Singer, and what that entails. I feel like I can go on a lot about this. Where do I begin? I think singing is a mentality. You have to kind of believe you can sing to some degree. And if you watch my other episode, at least I got a little bit of confidence from certain people in my life that maybe believe I could sing. And you got to go in with a certain confidence, I think, because if you don't, especially if you get in front of people, it's like singing through a straw. Something, you tighten up and you're like, ugh. And it's hard to really let your voice go. So that's a mental thing. And of course, singing on pitch, that's a big one. Checking to make sure you sound good and don't kid yourself. And even if you have to take every note, slow everything down, and just make sure you're, singing every note properly, and slower the better. And that helps kind of lock things in. But where am I really going with this? I guess, like I was saying, if you saw my last episode, having the belief that I could sing and trying to take it a step further, being in multiple bands, not only as just a backup singer, but also fronting my own bands as well as a cover artist, as well as an original artist. And yeah, I'd like to think that when I first started, I really didn't have a clue how to sing properly. I could be honest with you. I liked the way I sounded when I sang, but it's a lot different getting up and singing 3 sets and really giving it, and especially the style of music, and not hearing yourself, and a combination of all these different things that I wish I knew off the bat, because I think it would have saved me a lot of stress and anxiety. To take it right from the top, when I started kind of like singing as a professional singer, I was in the band, the Dreamboats, the one that I'm currently fronting right now. And this is when I really tested myself as a singer. Other than that, I just played drums and sing backups for original artists that I've been in bands that I've been in. But getting up in front of like an audience and singing 3 45-minute sets is a beast all its own. And what I mean by a beast is, if you don't know how to sing properly, it's you're fighting an uphill battle every night that you sing. So, I couldn't hear myself at all for like the first, God knows how, few years, half a decade of being in the band. And that was like my first downfall, because you're just kind of pushing and screaming and trying to hear yourself above this mix that is just a wall of sound behind you, that you're hoping that what you sound like is what's being sounded like out there. But it's a total different thing. So being able to hear yourself is really, really important, and trusting that whoever is doing your sound, whether it's yourself or someone that's doing sound for you, is making sure that your vocals are sitting on top of the mix. And it's weird when you think that you have to sing a certain way on stage to make your vocals stay on top of the mix, when out there you can be singing as loud as you want on stage, but if you don't have someone that has your proper levels out there, no one's going to hear you anyways. It doesn't matter how much you scream, no one's going to hear you. And that could lead to just vocal fatigue, pushing yourself so much. So knowing your levels and whatnot is very, very important. I'm going to start from, I guess you can say from the beginning, mid to late 20s, when I started with the Dreamboats. It was back in 2009. And yeah, we sounded good. We used to rip up these open mics, and of course you can do 3 songs and who cares if you can hear yourself or not. And yeah, we and all of a sudden we'd be like, oh wait, you can play this club, and by the way, you're gonna get paid X amount of dollars, and you have to sing 3 45-minute sets. I'm like, oh, okay. Not realizing that, like, after the first gigs, I remember when I first started singing like these types of gigs, and how I'd wake up the next morning and my vocal cords would be so inflamed that I couldn't even like talk or like make a sound. Like I remember I just started becoming like the musical director of a music school at the time, and I'll vividly remember, I started playing at this venue called Finn McCool's, which was kind of like a mock Irish bar in like the GTA. And there's franchises all over the place. And shout out to Brian Fontes, who got me my first gig at Finn McCool's. my real paying gig, as the dream in the dreamboats. And I remember I just started this new job, and my boss knew me as like a singer and drummer and whatnot. And I feel like, and he knew I'd like be singing the night before, and he'd call me in the morning, and I feel like I couldn't even like I didn't even want to answer his calls because I couldn't talk, like I couldn't form sound because like my vocal cords were just so inflamed. And that led to another disaster that I'm going to get into. But when you're younger, your vocal cords a lot more resilient. Your body's a lot more resilient. You can take a beating and you can heal up. But that but you can't be running that race forever. Eventually you have to learn how to sing. You got to learn how to like have technique. And like the weird thing about singing that I've come to realize, and also uh, a vocal teacher, um, I've had a couple of great vocal teachers. I'll get into that later. But my vocal teacher, Carl, um, from an awesome band called Freedom Train, he was like kind of telling me that it's almost like this weird kind of thing where it's like the less, like when you to properly sing, it's like you're putting in the least amount of effort, but the biggest sound will come out. So you got to imagine what that's like, and it's nothing to be pushed or screaming. It's not like screaming. I feel like the first like how many years I was singing, I was screaming in pitch. There's no other kind of way to put it. Screaming in pitch. And when you scream, you can't talk the next morning. Just like anything, you know what it's like going to like a concert and the next morning you just can't talk. So that was pretty much my whole singing career for the first like few years. And yeah, I remember my old boss just calling me, and I couldn't answer the phone call because that would have been found out that like I don't know what the hell I'm doing on stage. I don't know how to sing, but like I'd go and I'd sleep, and I try to sleep more, and get my voice back, and that's the only way to get your voice back: sleep and water. And people got their rituals, people have their techniques, whether it's steaming or whatnot. You can also over steam, which is not good. And I'll tell you about that as well. I feel like I've been through like the absolute gauntlet of vocal injuries, um, vocal anxiety. It's just man, singing is such a double-edged sword where you could just love exactly what you're doing in that moment while it's happening, and you can also on the other side just be like in the fear of God getting up on stage because you don't feel like you're 100%. It's like such a double-edged sword, and like such a love-hate relationship that I've had with singing through my career. But I love it because of that feeling that it does give me, you know. And yeah, just like, why do people play sports? You know, why am I playing football? Why am I like risking concussions? Because you love the game, you know. While you're tearing your ACL and your knee is hanging by a thread, you're asking yourself, oh my gosh, why can't I play, for the next, I hope to God I play, in the next few months or whatever. It's just, you gotta love it, and you have to be willing to risk that things are not gonna go as planned all the time. Here, hold on, plug in something just in case I want to die over here. Okay. So back to my point. So yes, it's such a love-hate relationship, and that was my whole relationship with singing for like so many years, and and without going and living in blissful ignorance in your head of like just trying to sing without really knowing how to sing, you're just setting yourself up for so much anxiety. And like I just wish that I knew like someone that really knew how to sing, or like wanted to, because I've been to many different vocalists for lessons, and I only felt like two of them really knew what the hell they were talking about for the most part, that I got like something from. Other than that, it's just like people just running through scales and they just milking your money every week, or like getting you to sing, just pumping your tires. Oh, you sound great, but like, okay, are you teaching me something here? What the hell am I learning? What am I taking away from this? I can sit here and feel like I'm putting on a performance for you in this freaking rehearsal studio right now when you're giving me a vocal lesson. But like, you need people in your life that truly know how to sing, that you respect. If you see someone that you really like what they're singing, like how they're singing, and they have a basic idea of what their technique and how they can explain that to you, you have to seriously like talk to those people, without a doubt. I gotta say shout out to Luther Mallory. I gotta say shout out to Carl Freedom Train. These guys have changed my life. You know, I mean, the last Luther really helped me kind of think of how to sing. Carl really helped me refine some of the technique that really worked for me. And I thank Carl because as I was facing like my most recent like vocal injury of just not vocal injury, but like I'm suffering from acid reflux, um, bad diet in my early 20s, also stress. I made a move into California in the beginning of 2022 that really took a toll on me kind of mentally. For the reason being, well, what the heck did I just do here? For the reason being that like just leaving what I knew behind in Mississauga and just like starting fresh in like the state of California. And it took a lot. And that's another thing, stress. You gotta watch that because that's got its own injuries, in itself. For me, it screwed with my vocals when I had to start suffering from acid reflux from a weak LES. But that's another thing. We'll get into that later on as well. So finding someone that really can help you refine your technique as a singer is what you got to do, or else you're just gonna like if you feel like you wake up the next day from singing and you're a professional singer and you're like hurting the next day, you got to fix something, simply put, or else you're gonna simply not gonna last, or you're gonna face some kind of vocal injury. When did I have my first vocal injury? I think it was about maybe 2013, where I started kind of singing like a lot, like the Dreamers were getting booked a lot. And what happened was it was almost like this like kind of like snowball effect of like, usually if I'd sing on the weekends, I'd sing, I'd blow my voice, I'd go to sleep for a thing, and then maybe I'd have one like the following day and I'd be singing and suffering through that, and then I'd have the week off to recoup my voice back. Not a good way of doing it, I'll tell you that right now. So I hope you learned something from this, if you are planning to sing as a professional. And then eventually it just caught up with me, where I started singing more than I can recoup. And then I end up getting kind of changes in my voice that I just end up getting a polyp on my voice. This little like white like, and that happens from your vocal cords. Like when you make sound, your vocal cords are vibrating. Now, when you are not singing correctly, it's like wind burn to your like vocal cords pretty much, and just abuse, just smacking chords. And since it rubs, it develops either a callus or some kind of like polyp of some sort. And nodules are more like calluses. Those are hard to get rid of. Polyps are more like kind of like, I don't know, like almost say blisters, but they could pop. I suffered my first one, and then I went to an ENT, doctor by the name of Aaron Lowe in Toronto, and at the voice clinic, and he suggested I do lip trills and steaming. So every night I'd be steaming. But what happens is you can sing through your like chest voice and regular voice, but your falsetto's like eradicated. It just doesn't work because there's like a polyp there. Like when you try to get that falsetto going, it just doesn't work. It's either air or wheezy or some kind of weird fucked up sound. It's such a head trip. Especially if you really have a type relationship with your voice the way I love, keeping my voice healthy. It's such a head trip. And I remember steaming, and it took me a long time to get rid of this thing. And what happened, it was so weird. It was like all of a sudden, like I had this polyp, like I went to the clinic and they took like a picture of it. They put the camera down and they took a picture of it. And the one thing I use that clinic for myself personally is if I want to get eyes on my vocal cords, I go here. Usually it's like a $200 charge. If I have any problems, I go to the doctor that's there, Dr. Osborne. And so I went to this speech therapist, Aaron Lowe or whatnot, and he got some eyes on that, and I saw this thing, and he took a picture of it and sent it to me. It just looked like this little blister, kind of shiny little blister thing on like my freaking vocal cords. I wish I had the pictures of it. I could probably find them on my email or maybe no, I deleted a lot of my emails, ran out of space. I wish I had these pictures. If I can post them, I'm going to post them on here. If not, then I can't find them. But this took me a long time to get over. And it was like a lot of trilling and also learning to relearn how to almost speak, because I was teaching at the time too, and I was speaking to kids like all day long. So I used to put sticky notes all over the place to be like, okay, speak forward, speak in your forward, like kind of really squeeze and make sure you're carrying your voice like this and lay off your voice. Right now I'm a little dark. I shouldn't be. I'm kind of leaning on my voice a little bit on my throat because I'm kind of keeping my voice down a little bit, which isn't good too. Whispering is not good. But I got a roommate full of a house full of roommates here, and it's like 2 a.m. So you gotta bear with it. So, anywho, I ended up getting this polyp, and every day I'd be making sure I focus singing forward and lip trilling and warming up, because like you can soften that polyp before you sing, and hard. You gotta do like hard lip trills, and it softens that, and you can get through a gig a little bit, but you do fatigue quickly. And then one day, I think it was like in December, it was like almost like close to 7 months since I first developed this polyp. All of a sudden, it just almost popped or something. It was gone from there. It healed, like, and then I got pictures on it. It was gone. So there's ways of getting rid of it. I'm just telling you that it can take a long time if you want to do it naturally. And most people get surgery, which I've had on my second polyp, and I'll get to that in a second. So I really want to focus putting in that work to really hone in on my voice and recover from this injury, because we are going on tour in Europe, and that was in 2015. So this is how I know this happened in 2014, because I remember once it popped and I was in the shower and I was just doing these warm-ups that I had to test every morning. Imagine waking up every morning and trying to test your voice and it's just not there. One morning it was, and it almost felt like it was like a pop. It was weird, and my voice was back. And it was amazing. I can't tell you how happy I was. I can't tell you how happy I was. Seriously. You never know what you have until it's gone. So that was my first vocal injury. And by sacrifice, like not really, like I said, living in blissful ignorance, not really doing my due diligence to master like any technique. And that's what's crazy about my buddy Carl, who really showed me. He said he did his best that every city he went to and every tour, because he used to be some pretty active artist with original bands, his own original stuff. Now he just does the covers and does the private part and just rips up like the festivals and stuff like that. Like, but used to be traveling a lot in different areas from what he told me, and still is, but like I think more outside of the country and around Canada. And he made like a special effort to like visit the best vocal coach in that area every time. So the amount of knowledge that he has gathered from everyone, and then like is now like and refined it to his own thing, and like can tell you or tell me, you know, it's just like so invaluable. I can't even describe it, you know. And because it saved me in my ass, especially when I first got here. Like I said, when I was suffering from reflux, I had to really hone in on a vocal technique in order to get through it, on top of the compounding stress of having like a band off your back and trying to carry this thing. It's a lot. Singing is a lot. And if you want to do it as a career, you know, prepare to love and hate it all at the same time. Okay? I'll use this as my first part to this episode, and I'll continue on. Okay? Chris Hummel here. Stay tuned.